All right, everybody, that's enough of the countdown there. So we are just going to get ready, just going to start. If you guys can hear me, if you can see me, say what's up. Say something. I know there's like a delay, like, I don't know, maybe a 20-second delay or something. But what's up, everybody? This is Benji Bruce with Speaking Lifestyle here. And today we are going to go over just marketing yourself, getting on stages. I'm going to answer some questions and everything like that. So let's just get into it, actually. So let me see in terms of who's here. So everyone say what's up. Okay. All right. So let's just do this. The first question I'm actually going to answer is from Mike, actually. So Mike, he just said, I'm a financial advisor who wants to teach the importance of investing. Okay. Matthew said, what's up? Pamela said, I can hear and see you. All right, perfect. I hate this delay with the lives. It's like this delay. I feel like I'm talking to myself. But what's up, everybody? So I'm going to go over this question with Mike. And the reason why I want to answer this question specifically first is because if there's one thing that I see a lot of speakers struggle with, it is this thing that I'm about to say. And it happens all the time, pretty much almost every email that I get this at least once or twice a day in terms of people emailing this type of question. So basically, Mike said, I'm a financial advisor who wants to teach the importance of investing to Black Greek organizations at colleges in Philly. How should I position my talk as something college students need? Okay, so what's up, Matthew, Pamela, Phil? What's up, Phil? Phil, I'm actually about to answer your question as well. So, Phil, I'm going to get to that in just a second. But Mike's question is the very first one. And so this is interesting because a question like this is a lot of speakers say, I have this topic. I have something that I want to speak about, my story, my message, this thing, and I want to speak about it. I want to get paid gigs. How do I get the paid gigs? And this is a huge problem because it's not about what you want to speak about. It always comes down to what they want to pay for, right? Let me actually take this little thing off. There we go. So it's not about what you want to speak about. It's about what they want to pay for. So Mike, when you say that you want to speak on the importance of investing to Black Greek organizations at colleges in Philly, you got to think, do colleges hire those types of talks? Is that what they're paying for? And it's really not what they're paying for, right? All right, so Raheem live. What's up, Raheem? All right, yeah, and guys, by the way, if you have any questions, you can ask questions inside of the comments as well, so make sure you just ask questions there. But I'm going to go over this one. So Mike, he mentioned like he wants to speak on the organizations to colleges in Philly, and he says, how should I position my talk as something that college students need? So let me show you this, right? So let me go to Google here, and I'm going to show you guys my screen real quick. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen. I'm going to type in, let's say, college keynote speakers. So we're going to do that. So when I go to college keynote speakers, notice what pops up here. What you see is essentially there's, motivational speakers, campus, university speakers, motivational speakers, there's leadership speakers. So notice that all these are pretty much, most of them are pretty much talking about motivational speakers. Look, a youth motivational speaker. So Mike, when you say that you want to speak on investing when you say you want to speak about investing in the Black Greek organizations, you got to think, is that what they're paying for? And if they're not paying for that, then you can't speak about it. It would be like me trying to sell a pager, or anyone trying to sell a pager nowadays, saying, hey, I've got these pagers, I've got these VHS tape, you guys got to buy it. Do you want it? You guys got to buy it, right? And it doesn't matter how great of a salesman I am. It doesn't matter how great the VHSs are, the pagers are. People just don't buy that. So no matter what's going to happen, you won't be able to sell it. And so this isn't just with this one thing. This happens with almost every speaker that I've talked to when they're in the beginning stages. They don't want to become a motivational speaker because they think, oh, well, everyone's a motivational speaker, right? But motivational speakers are the ones who get paid. So when you say I speak about XYZ, those aren't the ones who are actually paying you, right? So let me see. Ricardo said, what's up, Benji? I ran out of excuses to get back into action. Cool, perfect. Let's see. Sahira said, looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Cool, perfect. Matthew, already a professional speaker, 100. Cool, all right. Yeah, so it's important that if you're starting out with the speaking, just make sure that you start with a topic that people pay for. Otherwise, it's going to be damn near impossible to actually get the paid gig, right? So let me go to let's see to this next question here. Actually, Phil, we'll answer Phil's question, right? So Phil asked, "How do you know when you're ready to charge?" Hey, what's up, Julia? So Phil asked, "How do you know when you're ready to charge?" He said, "There will be a time when I'm good enough to charge, but I don't want to be ripping people off, charging 2K for a speech." It's so basically he doesn't want to just rip people off by charging 2K for a speech just yet, right? So how do you know when you're ready to charge? Well, there's really no real answer to this. It would kind of be like saying, how do I know when to start a business, right? Because it depends specifically on you, like how good you personally are in terms of just speaking. Like when I would get on the stage, I would just say like, all right, shoot, it's freaking X amount, right? No matter how much of a beginner I am, I'm just like, hey, it's X amount, right? And so it just depends on you in terms of how much you want to charge and when you want to charge. And what has to happen is you have to have this like this insane level of confidence inside of your brain, and that confidence comes through competence. So once you start practicing over and over and over again, you start just preparing your speech, and you're really good with the speech, then you can just start charging in general. But in the beginning, you're not focused on the money. You have to focus on getting on stages. That way you can get the testimonials, the video footage, you get all that, so you can end up charging $10,000 later on. So in the beginning, this is probably why a lot of speakers have a hard time just getting paid gigs, because they may be a good speaker or something, but they refuse to speak for free to get the paid, or to get the video footage, to get the video testimonials, to get the good website and stuff. So in the beginning, you charge nothing whatsoever just to get on a stage. That's it. You're like, let me just get on a stage, and then bam, you get everything else from there. Hey, what's up, Christina? So let me answer the second portion of Phil. Phil said, what do you say? Okay, is it okay to start off with one speech, or do you need different speeches each time? So like let's say an event, they're going to hire you multiple times, right? Well, you just want to focus on right now. So this is why a lot of people tend not to start, because they think way too far into the future, even though they haven't done anything just yet. So the first thing is get hired right now. Get hired for the one speech right now. That's it. Once you get hired, now you work on the speech, then you go do the speech. This is how I create like all my programs and everything, to where you sell it before you actually create it. And I tell speakers to do this with their speeches as well, to where you sell your speech. You say, hey, I'm a motivational speaker. Hey, I'd love to come present and everything, right? So you sell it first, then they say, okay, great, we'd love to have you come in. And now you're like, oh, snaps, I got to freaking write down my speech. I got to create a speech, right? So you sell it first, right? So that's what you always do, whether it's a program that you're creating, like an online program, whether it's a speech. And the reason why you want to do this is because if you don't, you're going to procrastinate. But I guarantee there's people watching this. There's people on Speaking Lifestyle, to where they've thought about maybe writing a book. They've thought about getting on stages. They've thought about creating a program, and they've thought about this for an entire year, and they haven't done anything with it, right? So what you do is you sell it first. And once it's sold, now it forces you to actually do something about it. It would be like if you approached a publisher and you say, hey, I got this amazing book. It is, I mean, you thought Harry Potter was good. This is like a whole new level. I mean, J.K. Rowling is here. I'm up here. And you sell the book first, right? Once you sell it, they're like, oh, wow, okay, well, show us the book then. Now you're like, oh, shoot, I got to actually write a book then. And so that's what Bill Gates did to build Microsoft. That's what Steve Jobs did to build Apple. That's what everyone does, to where you might have even heard the story about Bill Gates, to where I can't remember. I don't know, like some computer came out. It needed like some software, and Bill Gates, he called the CEO up. He was like, hey, I've got this software for you. It's perfect for your computer. And the guy was like, all right, show it to me. And Bill Gates was like, all right, cool. And then he hung up the phone. He was like, all right, let's go create the software now. So he sold it first. You got to do the same thing with your actual presentation. So, hey, what's up, Peggy? Christina? All right, so let's see. Adele said, how many people? All right, so I'm going to get back to that in just a second. Adele, let me answer this other question here. So let's see. Sahira said, how does one go about proving their credibility at speaking, or just providing credibility at speaking? For example, I've never had a speaking I never had a professional speaking gig. So what is the value proposition for someone new in the field, right? So this is actually really interesting. And let me show you guys my screen again. So let's go here, show you my screen. Okay, so I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to type this in. So let's say you have pretty much no video footage, no testimonials, no nothing of you on stage, right? So let me just make sure there's no audio there. So let's say you have no video footage, no testimonials, no nothing of you on stage. So you're wondering, how do I provide credibility to actually get on a stage? Because you know you should provide credibility, but how do you do it, right? So here's essentially, there's a couple things you can do. So one is like this, right? So some of you guys may have seen this video. In fact, maybe I'll rewind this, maybe, or no, I'll just. Let me see if you guys can hear this.
For the longest time, I wondered, like, why am I not successful? I would perform in restaurants, and I would go table to table, and I would perform as an entertainer. I would do these magic tricks for people, and I wanted to get more restaurants. So I would go door to door, or more specifically, restaurant to restaurant. I would literally take a bus because at the time I was 14, 15 years old. So
Pause this. All right, so if you're going to build credibility, you create a video like this, right? So this video, I simply hired a videographer, paid him some money, right? Just hired a videographer, and I just told my story. So I'm in this high rise, as you guys can see, and we just had a cool location, the high rise, and literally I was just telling my story. But because it was professionally made, when this can be my demo video, so I'll post this on my website and I'll say like, hey, I'm a motivational speaker, here's my story. So you pay a couple $100, get a professional video, bam, you got instant credibility. You use this in combination with your website, right? So you build out a really good looking website. So let's go here. So you essentially just put all this onto your website, right? So I would just put the demo video right here, and you can have a collage of people, but basically it's a combination. The way you're going to build credibility when you don't have any in the beginning is you essentially think of creative ways to get video footage like this, where you tell an about me story and it's a professional video. You think of creative ways to get video testimonials. So with the video testimonials, it can be, I mean, you can literally walk up to a friend and be like, hey, man, hey, John, I need a video testimonial, just saying to the camera what you think of me. And John, your friend, would be like, oh, Benji's, I mean, he's an amazing person. And so John will give you a testimonial. But in the beginning, the mindset that you have to engage in is you essentially have to think about not how do I get paid, but how do I get on stages for free? That way I can actually get the video footage to get paid later on. That's your mindset in the beginning. And so, and actually, let me also show you this as well. So, for example, here inside like the Speak Pro Academy, right? I'm going to show you guys, where is it at? All right. It's like a ton of pictures and stuff, but basically it's a ton of pictures that you can use for your own websites and everything. So what you do, all right, here we go. So what you do, you can get stock photos. These aren't stock photos. These are actual photos of like me on stage, but you can't really see me or something, or you can't see the speaker. Or for example, like this is just a big room. And so you just get creative with pictures like this. And so you put those types of pictures on your website, and you use those to build a really cool looking website. Like you use it to put it all over your site. Like notice here, like inside of me, there's a picture, and then like inside of me, there's a picture of a big room right there. So you just get creative with pictures like that. If you don't have pictures of you on stages, or pictures or videos of you on stages, you just get creative with little things like that. And so you can buy stock photos, or I mean, if you're a Speak Pro member, all you Speak Pro members, you guys can use all these photos, by the way. These aren't stock photos. These are my actual photos, but you can use those. But basically, you have to get creative in terms of how you're actually gonna build that credibility, right? Oh, and by the way, guys, if you have any questions, make sure you ask questions inside of this live stream. So, all right, so I answered that question there. So let me go on. Adele said, how many people do you travel with for speaking engagements? Do you bring someone to film or photograph, or do you Do you ask the event host? What would you pay someone to film? Okay. So when I travel for an event, well, before I travel, I ask the event, I say, hey, are you guys recording the presentation? And they usually come back with saying, do you want us to record it? And at that moment, I say, yes, I definitely want you to record it. Not only do I want you to record it, I would like a copy of the recording. And I know a lot of speakers, they're afraid of people like sending it out to their whole company or something like that, whatever. If anything, you want them to send it to everybody. You don't want to do licensing deals and all that. You're not no Tony Robbins. Come on, get real now. You're not freaking Tony Robbins. You don't need to be doing that licensing stuff just yet. You need to freaking figure out whatever it takes to get the video footage. So you tell the people at the event, you say, hey, will you guys be recording it? If they say no, you say, can you record it, right? So you figure out how can you get them to record it. Once they record it, you get the video footage right there and then. So you bring I don't have it, but you bring like a hard drive with you. Make sure you bring it with you. And then once they're done, once you're literally done and you're done talking to everybody, shaking hands and everything, you go to the back and you say like, hey, can you put it on here? Or if anything, you give them the hard drive at the very beginning and you say, hey, at the very end, can you make sure you put the film on there? And so you tell that to the video guy, get the video guy's contact information, make sure he puts all that stuff on there, right? So that's the first thing that I do. Then I will actually take whatever cameras I have and I will actually set them up in the room as well. So whether it's the phone, I used to film a lot with the phone, whether it's a DSLR, even though like a DSLR like the one I have, it records for only 30 minutes. Hey, at least that's 30 minutes of video footage, right? So there's that. Now I have this camera right here. So this camera records a lot longer, but basically you get as much video footage as possible. And if someone, if for some reason they're not recording, usually they do, but if for some reason they're not, you can just go on Craigslist and you just find some video guy who lives in that area and just hire him for however much, right? And then what you're going to do with your video guy, if you do bring a video guy, is at the very end, you want to record video testimonials and have your video guy record video testimonials as well. So there's actually a video on Speaking Lifestyle somewhere. But if you type in like in the search bar, type in like testimonials, you'll see a video of how my video guy actually is a cool guy named Barry, this cool juggler, right? He was at an event with me and he had this whole setup and then he was asking people for testimonials for an event. It was actually the Traffic and Conversion Summit event. So he was asking people, like he just had his camera set up. And he was like, hey, so what do you think? And then you're like, oh, that dude's amazing. And so he's recording testimonials. I'm recording testimonials with my phone. And all you do is, so at the very end, you essentially like you have your phone out, and I always have my phone like in my right hand, because what happens is when people reach out, so they come up to you, right? And they say like, hey, they're like, hey, I'd love to, that was amazing, whatever. And notice what I just did there with my phone, right? So my phone is in my right hand. They say, hey, how's it going? Or I loved your presentation. You now have to move your phone over to your left hand to shake their hand, right? So what that tells you is, oh yeah, I got my phone in my hand, record freaking testimonials. So it's like a primer that you have just by holding your phone in your right hand, to where people are coming up to you after your presentation. It's like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, can I get a testimony? Just say that real quick into the camera. And so you can do little things like that. And I'm always holding up the camera. Like if you ever see me at an event, you'll see me like do this as I'm talking with people. I'm just like doing this the entire time, right? And it doesn't matter if, well, I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, basically that's pretty much how I get the testimonials. So let me see another question here. We'll see. Caroline said, thank you. How do you find the people to pitch to and determine the best audience to approach? Okay. All right. Let's see. All right. What's up, Tammy? Okay. So I'm going to get to that in just a second, Caroline. Let me answer this real quick. So Stacy said, my question is, I don't have a comeback when they say they don't pay or they can't afford my fee. I always say, okay, and then do the artist thing, go cower, and question why I'm in the business, feel sorry for myself, and then move on to the next one, right? So this happened, well, I think this happens to a lot of people, right? So let me show you guys this again. Now let's go in here. Let's see. All right, I'm going to show you guys my screen here. So I'm going to show you the event finder thing here, right? So Stacy, like when you say that when you quote someone or when you're talking with them, they basically say like, "Hey, we don't pay speakers." This is one of the objections that's going to happen like consistently. I mean, it's one of the objections that happens all the time. Now you have to think from a sales process, right? A sales process is a repeatable process. So when they say something and you get this objection consistently, you have to think, how do I respond to this objection? How do I respond to what they're saying? And this is why you have to come up with all these email templates in terms of your step-by-step process. So for example, I'm like all jacking up with this thing, just switching stuff. And all right, so if you see here, this pipeline right here, so this is a pipeline for getting on stages, right? It's the same thing over and over. The process is the exact same, from building up a list of events to sending out email number 1. If they don't respond, you follow up. Then you send the email pitch, follow up, and then you just move them down the pipeline. And the process it's the exact same every single time, no matter what they do, no matter what they say, it's always the same. Even little things that happen, like when you send a contract out here, so you send the contract out, they may not respond. You're like, hey, it's going to be 15 grand or whatever. They may not respond, so you need to have specific follow-ups that get people to respond. And so when you know that people say and do certain things consistently, you have to have a process for that. So with the specific advice in terms of when they say, so they say they can't afford to pay, or they can't afford your fee. Those are two different things, right? So when they say they can't pay, think about why they can't pay. The reason why they, or not can't, the reason why they don't pay. The reason why they don't pay is because, one, is probably the wrong lead. You probably contacted a conference or a seminar, and so they just don't pay speakers in general, unless you're like Gary Vaynerchuk or Tony Robbins, like the big dog. So you got to think like why they don't pay. They also think in terms of, we're giving you exposure, right? So that's why they don't pay. They're like, why would we pay you? We're giving you exposure, not the other way around, right? So what you have to do is you have to come along a different line. You have to say, just like with any objection, you say, look, I understand you guys don't pay because you're probably giving other speakers exposure, but, and then you kind of go into a but, like, here's why I'm different, right? And you get into the different part by separating yourself from the normal speakers that they bring in. So if they bring in like normal content speakers, you separate yourself by saying, oh, this is a humorous type of speech. So like people are going to be dying laughing, or I'm a juggler, right? So I'm going to juggle or whatever, right? So you have to separate yourself from the crowd when they say they don't pay. So that's how you do that. What's happening is you're bringing up the objection before they can bring it up, because they say, oh, we don't actually pay speakers. Now you say, oh, okay, I'm assuming you don't pay speakers because you guys are giving them a lot of exposure at your event, but, and then you kind of go on and pitch like that, right? So you have to essentially have a process with that. Let me see the rest of these comments. Let's see, Raheem, social media elegance matters. Okay, so Pamela said, I love the phone in hand. Cool, yep. All right, so Mr. Brown said, do you have to get a media release signed by those in your video? Absolutely not. It's I'll tell you guys a little secret here, right? I'm assuming you guys know who David Blaine is, the big magician, right? Not even David Blaine gets a lot of the releases, the release forms. I know this because I know the guys who work with him, and he was like, nah, we don't really have people sign release forms. He's like, we have like a couple, and he's like, that's it. And I know this for a fact, right? So if guys like him don't even need people to sign release forms, you're not big enough to have people sign release forms. You have to understand that you're not big enough to where a lot of this stuff actually matters. So unless you're Tony Robbins level, you really don't need most of what you think you need. And it's like with a lot of people, when they're starting a business and they try to get an LLC, they try to get S Corp, and then they try to get all this stuff set up in their business, and then they just don't sell anything. And they're like, oh, damn, I just wasted all that time. They get a lawyer and all sorts of stuff, right? And I'm like, go out and sell something first. Get big enough to where you actually matter first. So the same goes with release forms. It goes with like almost anything, right? So you got to think with release forms, all you're doing is recording. If they actually say something into the camera, it's like they're giving you permission anyways. I mean, if you say like, hey, yeah, so just say what you thought about the presentation. They're like, oh, that was an amazing presentation. Oh my goodness, that was so great. If they're doing that, um, why would they go back, I don't know, like a week later and be like, hey, don't use that testimonial, by the way. And if they do say that, if they do say, hey, I don't want you to use my testimonial, it's like, fine, I don't need your testimony anyways. I got a million other people. But I've never had that happen, actually. Actually, no. I've had that happen with other gurus where they've seen my presentation and they get all butthurt or something later on. I don't want to mention names, but it was this guy. It was the weirdest thing ever. It was like I got a testimonial from him, and then one day he didn't even contact me, actually. It was through a friend. A friend was like, hey, he's pissed off that you're using a testimonial. I'm like, why is he pissed off? Like, what? And so I sent him a message. I was like, hey, do you want me to take this thing down? Like, if you want me to take it down, just say something. And so I took it down. I was like, I got way too many testimonials for yours to actually matter, right? So you got to think along that line to where not only with testimonials, but also with events as well. I even created a whole video around this where you are prospecting with so many events that any one event doesn't matter. So when you are contacting events and they say, oh, we don't have the money or whatever, you're just like, oh, well, move on, because you have 100 other options. And when you're in that mindset, when you realize that you have all these other options, no one event, no one person actually matters to you. So you have to make sure that you're always on that level. Let's see another question here. So let's see, how hard is it to book a speaking gig without a good video or any video for? So Brian said, how hard is it to book a speaking gig without a good video? It's pretty damn hard. It would be like me trying to sell website design, but I don't have any websites to show you. Like, it's damn near impossible. Like, it's one of the reasons why I tell people join the Speak Pro Academy, because you'll get all the pictures and everything. The only thing I can't give you is actual video footage. But even then, we figure out ways for you to get the video footage, like what I mentioned with the YouTube video, where you just hire a videographer. He films your About Me story, and it's a professional looking video, so people know, hey, this guy is somebody, right? So it would literally be like being a web designer and trying to sell a web design, but you don't have a website to show people. You have to demonstrate that you're not all talk, right? So I know there was a question that I kind of skipped out. Okay, so Caroline said, how do you find the people to pitch to and determine the best audience to approach? So the way you find the people to pitch to, this essentially, it depends on you specifically in terms of what you're speaking about and what your market is. And it's like, if I know that I'm speaking about sales, let's say I'm a sales speaker, right? Then I'm gonna go on LinkedIn. I'm gonna start contacting sales VPs, like the VPs of sales managers, and all that. I'm gonna start contacting them. If I'm a motivational speaker, well, in fact, let me just show you guys here. So let's go back. Let's go here to Event Finder. So like here in Event Finder, where is it? All right, so like these lists of keywords and hashtags, right? So all you're doing, I gotta change that. Should have opened it in a separate page. But what you do is you essentially have like a list of keywords, a list of just a ton of keywords and hashtags that you use to find events. And so like event profs here, this is the event profs and meeting profs. These are hashtags that meeting planners and event planners use, like hashtag award banquet. This is another type of thing where you just Google that. You can Google award banquet. So let me do that right now, actually. So let's type that in. Google will fix that. All right. So see, I just Googled award banquet. Bam, there's all these events that pop up. So there's like a gazillion events. So now let me click on this. I now look at their event. Let's see. So I now know, all right, so this is way back when, but still I would just copy and paste this into the CRM. Bam, I found one event. Let's go on to the next one. Let's go on to this one here. So it's like, okay, what is this? All right, a wine spectator event. Bam, I copy, paste that. Bam, found another event. So I've already found two events in like a couple of seconds, right? So essentially what you're doing is you just have like a list of keywords that would make sense to, that would just make sense in terms of what types of events you specifically speak at. And you build up a list. In fact, this is like one of the templates inside Speak Pro Academy, where you essentially have the list. That way, when you figure out a keyword like award banquet or sales conference or any other keywords, when you figure out a keyword that works for you, you keep that inside of a Google Doc. And once it's inside of a Google Doc, now you can keep going back to it, because what happens with a lot of speakers is they essentially they try to, well, they start from scratch every single day. So it's almost like you wake up, you're like, what do I do? How do I get gigs, right? And it's why a lot of speakers need to build out a sales process. Everyone needs a sales process, so you don't wake up wondering what to do. I wake up and I say, all right, let me go to this Google Doc. All right, here's a list of all these hashtags and keywords I can use. So let me just copy, paste one of those, just like what you saw me do. And now I know exactly how to find events. Now it's just a matter of contacting them, sending them to my website. So that's why you need that sales process. That's why you need templates. That's why you need systems in place. Otherwise, you wake up every day wondering, how do I find events? How do I pitch them? What do I say to them? And I have all sorts of, like, once again, let me show you guys this as well. So like here, email pitch templates, right? So here's the process. All right, well, that's not the right one. That's not what I want to show you. All right, email templates. There we go. So the email templates. So here's like my entire process, right? So the entire process is this. So remember, I showed you this earlier. This is the entire process. And since I know this is my entire process, I'm not going to sit there and think every day, what do I write? Like, what do I say to them when I email them? Because I do this a million times. So I know email number one is the first thing. So I now send email number one. Then you go through the follow-ups, and then you go through, you pitch the emails, and then you ask the event questions. And if there's no response, you ask them this. And so there's all sorts of, all these are just like templates, right? And so you just know how to respond to every single thing they say. Like when they say, fill out this RFP, you have a response to that. When they say we don't pay speakers, you have a response to that. And so that's all I'm doing. I'm kind of copying and pasting, but not really. Like when you pitch, especially when you pitch, is more along the lines of you're following a template like this, to where you have to pitch in a way where it doesn't actually sound like you copy and pasted something. So every day when you wake up, you should have all of this built out. You should know exactly what you're going to say. And then you just copy, paste it in there, change it up a little bit, like change up the names and change up the event names and all that. And bam, you're good to go, right? That's essentially what you're doing. I don't remember if someone asked a question about that or if I just talked about that. But let's see. If you have any other questions, make sure you ask them. Let's see. What is your strategy for getting booked in 2 to 4 weeks? Now, once again, that is the strategy. What I just showed earlier, where it's like you literally just go, you find the events, just like I did with the award banquets, and then you just contact them. Bam, that's it. If you want to get booked fast, the fastest way to get booked is just to contact people who hired you before. So like I would just call up the companies that hired me before. I'd be like, hey, what events do you have going on? And bam, that would be the fastest way. But if you don't have that type of contact, then you have to just do what I just showed you, and you got to contact them. The way you're going to get booked really fast is by having a great website. It's that simple. If you don't have a great website, people won't hire you because you don't look like you're worth paying for. And so you have to have a great website. It's why I talk about like having a really good theme, a Divi theme that you can use, and a WordPress theme and all that. Just have a great theme and be creative in terms of getting your video footage, like the About Me story and all that. So yeah, just focus on that. Any tips on selling from the stage? So with selling from the stage, it comes down to, it's like you're not really telling them what to do. Well, you're telling them what to do, but you're not telling them how to do it, right? So the best guy that I've seen sell from the stage, his name is Marshall Silver. So look him up. In fact, tell him I sent you, right? So Marshall Silver is the best one that I've seen in terms of selling from the stage. The dude closes like crazy. It's amazing to watch him close, right? And so when it comes to selling from a stage, almost everyone does it differently. But what you'll see them do is they actually have a process. And let's see. So the process is essentially, it goes, they set expectations, they build credibility, they state the problem, they hint at a solution, they give content, they provide proof that it works, and then they show the offer. That's essentially the process, but in terms of selling from the stage. But ultimately what you think about is you're telling your audience what to do, but not how to do it. The way they learn the how is by buying your program. That's basically how you sell from the stage. So let's see. Mike said, yeah, Mike, I answered your question earlier. Your question was the very first question. So you'll want to watch a replay of this. Let's see. All right. So any other questions, make sure you ask them. All right. So Mr. Brown said, does Event Finder provide the sales process? Yeah. Or you just answered the question. All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, Event Finder really is that, it really is that whole process. And in fact, let me do this. So yeah, I'll actually show you guys the whole back end here. Let's see. Yeah, so all that was Event Finder. So Event Finder, it is the sales process in terms of getting on stages. It gives you the training. It's like, here's what you do. Here's why you say this. Here's the templates, and it shows you everything, like how to create your customer profile, your CRM, all that stuff. So we go through the whole process, and a lot of I really just think speakers, they just don't get on stages because they're just not used to selling. So they're not used to building out a sales process. Everyone thinks that it's all about word of mouth. And that's what pissed me off, right? This pissed me off years ago. People would say, I would say, like, how do you get on stage? Like, how are you getting gigs, right? They'd be like, oh, it's referrals. It's word of mouth. Oh, no. So they would say that. I'm like, what? That shows me nothing. Like, freaking referrals, word of mouth. How do I get the freaking gigs to begin with? That's a stupid response. And so people would always say that. And so I had to build out a freaking process. I said, okay, let me start calling up events, right? So I started calling them first, but then I realized emails, it was more effective. And then what you're doing is you're just building out step by step. You're like, okay. And you always think from their perspective, by the way. So you think of little things. Like nowadays, people are reading emails on their phones. So you have to send emails that are a lot shorter. And when you send an email out, instead of sending like a paragraph, like 5 sentences in a paragraph, you send maybe 1 or 2 sentences in a paragraph, and then you break it up, right? So you got to think that people are reading on their phones. So let me show you. So it's like, I don't know if you guys can see that, like the email today, right? So it's on the phone, and even even the last sentence there where it says, if you have any questions about getting on stages, like that's kind of long right there. It's kind of long on a phone. But you want something that's really short like that, because if it's really long, if I have to keep scrolling through, all right, so it's like this, I'm scrolling through, right? I got to keep scrolling through. People aren't going to read all that stuff. Like, they'll read it if they sign up to like an email list or something like that. But if you're pitching someone, they're not going to read it. It's too much. And so you got to really think about little things like that. So that's what Event Finder is really for. So let's see. Can you repeat that sell from the stage list? Yeah. So let's do this. So it's number 1, set expectations. 2, build credibility. 3, talk about the problem, get that empathy on your side. 4, you hint at a solution. 5, you start talking about the content. And 6, you provide you provide proof that it works. And 7, you give an offer, right? And the content, notice that the guys who are really good at selling from a stage, what they do when they talk about content is they don't actually teach you the specific thing, right? So it's like, let's say I'm talking about Facebook ads or something. I'm not up there going through a Facebook ad. I'm not like saying, all right, so we click here and we do this and then we do that. I'm not doing that with a Facebook ad. What I'm doing is I'm saying like, hey, so we did a Facebook ad the other day. And then I start telling a story about it. I'm like, all right. And then all of a sudden we generated 50 grand in the one day. And it was all through this one thing, right? And so you're telling a story. You're basically talking about like the end result. You're creating this vision of what's possible. And then from there, you're just telling them what, but you don't tell them how. And you mention, so I'm going to tell you a little secret that Marshall Silver does, right? And this, I asked him about this. Marshall Silver, he talks about his program from the very start. He literally says it is $3,000 or $5,000. And he talks about the price from the start. And he makes it very clear that he's going to sell you something. So if you aren't very clear, if you're not saying like, hey guys, I'm going to sell you something by the end of this, right? if you're not very clear, people are going to wonder about that in the back of their heads. They're going to be like, oh, when is he going to pitch? What is this guy selling? What is he? Oh, this guy's going to sell something. He's going to pitch eventually. And they're going to wonder that. They're going to keep thinking about that inside of their head instead of actually paying attention to your presentation. So what he does at the very beginning, he's like, I don't want to say his line, but basically he says like, yes, guys, I'm going to sell you something. And you'll notice I do that with the webinars as well. I'm like, hey, guys, we're going to go over these things. And then at the very end, I'm going to sell you Industry Icon for $4.95. At the very end, I'm going to sell you Speak Pro Academy for $5,000. At the very end. So you'll notice I do that as well because you want people to understand the whole process. You're not trying to hoodwink anybody. You're just saying, I'm going to sell you something. And if you truly believe in what you're selling, you shouldn't be ashamed of selling it. Like I believe in my program so much, I feel sorry for people who aren't in the programs because I personally know that if they just spent $4.95 on Event Finder, they would now have an entire system to get on stages where they could now charge $2, $5, $10,000 to get on a stage. But because they don't want to spend $4.95 on a program, they don't get on a stage. And so I feel sorry for them. Same goes with Speak Pro Academy. When people say like, hey, we're Speak Pro Academy, you get everything. You're like, hey, I need help getting on stages. I need help selling programs. I need help with my entire business. I'm like, get Speak Pro Academy. We talk every week inside of this thing. I personally help you out. Like I literally say, do this to your website. Oh, write this instead of this. I personally help you out. So when people don't invest, I'm like, well, it's going to be another 5 years before they actually see any results trying to figure it out themselves. So I literally feel sorry for people. And so you have to think the same thing with your program. When you know your program is that good, when you know your speech is that good, you know you can help people out like that, and they don't buy from you, you have to feel sorry for them. It would literally be like you're selling the cure to cancer. And people say that you go up to someone with cancer, you're like, hey, I've got a pill that will literally cure your cancer. And they're like, I don't believe you. No, I don't. Is this a scam? I don't know. Why are you trying to sell me stuff, huh? Why are you trying to sell me stuff? Why can't you just give it to me for free? And then if my cancer's cured, then I'll pay you. So it's like that, right? And people do that all the time with programs or whatever. And so you got to believe in your stuff so much where you're like, I'm selling the freaking cure to cancer. If you don't buy this, I feel sorry for you. Like it's not the other way around. It's like, hey, my life is going to go on just fine. It's your life that's going to get messed up. So that's truly what I believe when people don't buy my programs. And when you're selling from the stage, when you're selling anything, if you don't believe that, you're not going to sell. It's not going to come across as like, hey, I truly have the solution to your problem. So that's pretty much what it comes down to in terms of selling, right? So the whole selling thing, most of it really comes down to confidence. It comes down to that belief. Because I watched a guy who copied Marshall Silver's presentations. Like I said, Marshall Silver, best closer I've ever seen, right? A guy who literally copied his presentation, and then all of a sudden he's in a room. This was like his own event, right? So if you have your own event and you're pitching to people at your own event, then you should be able to close almost all, like the entire room. But he did the exact same thing that Marshall Silver did, like damn near word for word, and he didn't close. He didn't, like, no one actually bought. I mean, it was kind of awkward. Like, everyone was still sitting there. So he's like, everyone go to the back of the room, go buy. And everyone's just. So it was like that awkward feel. And it was because of the way he was thinking about his program. It was just the mindset in terms of, you could see when one guy like truly believes in what they're selling versus another guy who's just trying to sell, who's trying to use these techniques to sell. When you truly believe in what you're selling, like I've got the freaking cure to cancer, it comes across and people just buy from you. All right. And any other questions, make sure you ask them, by the way. So let's see. Shaylee said, my strategy is to build up my skills by doing unpaid speaking. Okay, so unpaid speaking. So I've been passively collecting footage of me in a variety of experiences and hope to build up the reel in the coming years. Is that okay? All right, so Shaylee, I think I'm saying that right. I hope I'm saying it right. So Shaylee, you got to think in terms of speed of implementation. So I sent an email about this a couple days ago to where it's not about, you said you're going to build up the reel in coming years. That's going to take forever. That's going to take years, literally. So it's not about building it up to create it in years. Shyly. Okay, shyly. All right. So yeah, it's not about waiting for years to build it. You already have footage right now. Build it right now. Like, get it done today. Get it done tomorrow. Build it right now. If you spoke at one event, you now have video footage to freaking put on your website. You spoke at one event, you got one testimonial. you now have video footage to put on your website, and you update it from there. So you just keep adding on. So once you have that one video footage there, bam, put it on your website. Then later on, you improve it, bam, you replace it, and you just keep updating like that, right? It's all about speed of implementation. I think this is one of the reasons why so many people fail, is because they know what to do, they just don't do it. And they just take too long to do things. It's why, like, an industry icon that I was talking about, is why, like, I keep telling people, look, we're going to actually get things done. Do not watch these videos, these lives, just to watch them. It's all about, all right, first you got to do this, then you got to do this, then you got to do that. We'll worry about all the psychology, all the teaching, all that stuff later. Get this done. Build your website. Build this. Put your program in place. Get it done. And I think I mentioned this guy. His name is Carl White. And I remember when I first met him, he talked about how when he's like at an event or at anything, at a mastermind, whatever, and he hears of an idea that he can use in his business, he literally gets up and leaves. Like literally, like someone to say, oh, we did this with our Facebook ad, and if you do this, it would be great. He's like, and he literally just gets up and leaves, goes, he implements it. He just does it on the computer right there and then. Then he comes back to learn some other stuff. And so while everyone else is sitting there like, okay, cool, that's amazing, he literally just did a Facebook ad, made a couple $1,000,000 and all that, right? So it's all about speed of implementation. You'll notice that this is the difference between all the people who accomplish stuff and everyone else. The people who don't accomplish stuff, they tend to act too slow. They move too slow. And then they wonder why they're not getting results. They're like, okay, yeah, I'll have my website up in a month. I'm like, why didn't you have it up today? Like the way the website stuff is nowadays, you should have it up literally today. I can literally build a website right now. Like it's all about speed of implementation. And that's what you have to think about with everything you do. So let's see. Sherry said, knowing what to do is easy. Doing it is hard. Yep, exactly. So any other questions, make sure you ask them before we're done here. Coming up on almost an hour here. So any other questions, but I do want to point out that probably the biggest thing is the speed of implementation. So if you guys don't act fast, you essentially have to build that momentum, because the momentum, it's crazy with momentum, where when you have the momentum behind you, you're almost forced to keep doing stuff. And so it's like, let's say you hired 5 people, right? So you hired five people. What's going to happen is you will now feel forced to actually do something in your business. Otherwise, you're just paying them for no reason. And so it's like, if you hired people, you're like, all right, I got to show up every day to the office. Every day, because they're going to be there. And if I'm never there, and they won't know what to do or whatever. So that momentum like forces you to do stuff, right? And so you always want to think about that momentum and that speed of implementation. So let's see. Shiley said, I'm not shocked by the results, or I'm not shocked by results, but I know I can get there. I'm slow, but I'm en route. Could definitely speed up. Yeah, you guys, you really got to speed up. Like with the industry icon. Let me see if I could find this thing. Like industry icon, right? So you guys know about the industry icon. I was talking about it. So a lot of people thought about building their programs. Literally we started on Saturday. What is today? Tuesday. So now people inside of the group, they already have their avatars built out. A few people already have their program, the website part of their programs built out. Let's see, like in here. So yeah, people, they've already gotten things done in literally Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. 4 days. They've done more in 4 days than most people have done in like 4 months. And it's just because that sense of urgency, it kind of forces you to act. And it's also one of the reasons why it's good to have someone there pushing you. And it's probably why like a lot of businesses with partners actually do really good, because when you have a partner there who's working with you, you almost feel forced to act. And people who are solopreneurs, people who are by themselves, you almost need the most motivation, because there's no one there kind of telling you stuff. There's no one there telling you what to do. There's no one there keeping you accountable, nothing. And so like with the industry icon thing, I was like, hey guys, I'm here to push you, to make you get stuff done. And so that's why they got more done in 4 days than most people do in several months, just because it's like, get it done, or you're going to get one of these, right? So, all right, so let's see. Walter said, if conferences and seminars typically don't pay speakers, what are the top 5 industries that do pay for motivational speakers? You got to think like corporate pays, colleges pay, high schools, but not that much. But what you're essentially doing is you say, okay, like I'm a motivational speaker. Damn near everybody pays for motivational speakers, right? So you can go, I mean, just corporate in general is like everybody. It's like every place. It can be sales events, it can be big companies or whatever. Colleges, I almost wish I would have done colleges because it's really easy to find colleges. You can just Google college directories. Bam, you have like a huge list of colleges. Now it's just a matter of contacting them, right? So yeah, it just comes down to that. It's not about like looking for top 5 industries. I mean, it's just a matter of I'm a motivational speaker. Damn near everyone hires motivational speakers. So that's kind of what it is. So let's see. Caroline said, does Industry Icon include Event Finder? No, Industry Icon and Event Finder are 2 different things. So let's go here. So let me show you this. So Speak Pro Academy includes everything, right? So it's like this. So the Speak Pro Academy is like all these programs here. So you see like all the programs. It includes the pictures, it includes websites, and it includes everything. So it's these modules. There's 12 modules there. There's an authority program, which is a ton of stuff. Presentation Persuasion, Event Finder, which is I just showed you guys. Industry Icon has a ton of stuff. Brand Builder shows you how to build a great website. Lead Gen Ideas is like another 12 stuff. Summit Recordings is like 12 hours of stuff. Photos and graphics, website. So this is Speak Pro Academy. Speak Pro Academy includes everything. Event Finder includes this. So let's load this real quick. So Event Finder is this. This is literally what Event Finder is. It shows you, it's like here's a step-by-step process for building out your specific sales process. It doesn't matter what topic you talk about. It doesn't matter where you live. It's just a matter of here's how you contact events. Here's how you find and contact events. So you get to see like me do it. You get to see me like build a list, how I use my CRM, all sorts of stuff, right? So this is Event Finder. Industry Icon is more about building your online programs. So Industry Icon, there's this, and then there's the private Facebook group. In here, you guys don't request this because I'll just deny you if you're not a member. So there's that. This talks about like there's different parts. There's one, building your program, building your sales process, and then building a content machine. So like when you go here, you'll see all the training for building your program and everything. And so we go over all this stuff that you have to do, and we go over all this inside of the Facebook group, and I walk you through everything that you're doing. So Event Finder and Industry Icon are 2 different things. Speak Pro Academy includes everything. And I keep adding stuff to Speak Pro Academy, right? And we have a separate group for Speak Pro members. So let's see. Ricardo said he has section 1 done, almost done with section 2. Cool, perfect. So Tim said, if you don't have a boss or partner, you need a coach. Preach. Yep, exactly. All right. So any other questions before we're about done here with everything? I know there's like a little delay, but I'm going to start doing a lot more Facebook Lives. Now that I got this cool setup, got the nice camera and everything, I'm going to start doing way more Facebook Lives with this. But any other questions before we're done here? Oh, and by the way, guys, with Industry Icon, I'm going to do a Facebook Live tomorrow inside of Industry Icon, inside of our private group, and we're going to go over steps 3 and 4 as well. So just make sure, just watch out for the email on that. Watch out for the Facebook Live on that. Any other questions? All right. Nope. All right. So, let me check with the email one last time in case I can find a good question inside of the email. Oh, all right, guys. Yeah. So, let's see. When will you do Industry Icon again? I'm not actually sure. I may never do it again in terms of live. If anything, it will. So right now, Industry Icon is $9.97. It will never be $4.99 ever again. If anything, Industry Icon will always increase in price as I keep adding more stuff. So similar to Speak Pro Academy, like once Speak Pro Academy used to be $500, now it's $5,000. So once I keep adding new stuff, we keep doing more and more, and I get the testimonials and everything, I just increase the prices like crazy. I recommend you just join Industry Icon right now because we already did the first one, the first part, so you wouldn't be you wouldn't be too far behind. So I just recommend you do that right now. So let's see. Cool. Thanks, Raven. All right, so let's see. All right, thanks, Mr. Brown. Let's see. Mark said, we are seeking a speaker for a partner. Okay. All right, so let's see. Donald said, I'm speaking for the first time tomorrow at a high school. Will this footage be good? Yeah, so Donald, your video footage, you just want to get all types of video footage. In the beginning, it doesn't really matter what video footage it is. I mean, you can be speaking to freaking 5 people. Get the video footage. Just get it no matter what, and then later on you can edit, and you can maybe, if you have to, like strip the audio from it and just use the audio or whatever. But get the video footage for sure, and then put it on your website. And remember to get the video testimonials. Remember, you got to sit there and have the phone in your right hand, and then when people come up to you, be like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? Oh, and by the way, yeah, what do you think of the presentation? Just tell me how great I am. You want to make sure that you get video testimonials, right? Yep. So Sherry says Speak Pro Academy is the best. Cool. Thanks, Sherry. All right. Thanks, Matt. All right. So, yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. I will do another Facebook Live probably pretty soon. I'll be doing more Facebook Lives just as we go on. So thanks everybody for showing up, and I will talk to you soon.